Gather round. It's time for your Real Estate Chalk Talk with the Hittner Group at Coldwell Banker. Listen closely as your coaches discuss the culture, the economy, and the political scene, and how it affects your home and your real estate investments. Real Estate Chalk Talk is where you learn the science of buying and selling real estate and the art of living in your home. Your education begins in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good morning, and welcome to the show. This is your Real Estate Chalk Talk, broadcasting from the legendary Rack Shack Barbecue Studio in Eagan, Minnesota. HittnerGroup.com, Hittner Group, all one word. HittnerGroup.com, 612-627-8000 is the number to call. Give us a ring-a-ling-a-ling. We'd be happy to take your questions about your real estate needs, all with no cost and absolutely no obligation. 612-627-8000. All right, so we are entering into our fall market of real estate, Calvin, and we are actually, I noticed this week a little increase of activity.
Really?
Just general activity seemed to be, I don't know if it was just our business in particular, but I was so busy this week that it was fun. One thing interesting that happened is we did a price reduction. You see price reductions now where we haven't seen price reductions in years. Now you look at the listings. I do a little area market surveys for clients. I'm looking at the listings that are on the market now.
Right.
First of all, the first thing I notice is increased number of days on market.
Yep.
30 days, 35 days on the market, not uncommon. 100 days on the market, not uncommon.
Really?
And price reductions. Price reductions. So a couple of years ago when we were pricing homes, because the market was escalating so fast, we really didn't know what that price was. So you just kind of threw it out there and then let the market determine. They would bid it up.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's kind of the other way. You don't know if the market is falling away from you, which it seems like it is a little. But you sure don't want to get out over your skis. That's for darn sure. So.
But are you finding that there's just less buyers? There's less buyers, obviously, in the marketplace,
absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So then, is lowering the price the only tool in your toolbox? Because if there's not enough buyers, there's not enough buyers. So is it more?
Well, you're exactly right. So here's the deal.
Do you know what I'm saying?
I do know what you're saying. So what is your ability then as a seller,
right,
to make your property more attractive than the one down the street? That's really what it is. Because now there are fewer buyers clamoring for your property. So you have to stand out. Can you change the location? No. Can you change the physical structure? Well, yes, but is there a payback for that? There's a limit on the payback on that. So probably not. Can you paint it? And rather than 2 years ago where you just didn't, you just threw it out there and because they'd buy anything.
Right.
Probably that's not a bad idea. That's a differentiation point right there. Is this has nice, crisp, modern color paints. You pulled the wallpaper off the wall. Carpet. Yes. Do you have good carpet? Well, this carpet in my house is good. It's just wears like iron. It looks like new. Yes, I realize that, but it's 25 years old. It's got 25 years worth of toenails in it, and. And it is dated. I mean, the carpet itself is just not a dated pattern and color and all that stuff. So probably carpet would be a good idea. You pull the carpet off and it's like, wow, look at those floors. We don't need to put carpet down. All we need to do is throw a little polish on those floors and they look fabulous. There's things like that are differentiators that separate your house from the competitors. So those things all manage. If you don't want to do any of that, well, then the only thing that you've got left is price. I mean, that's the great equalizer. Everything will sell for the right price, for a price. The question is how low can you go without going too low? Does that make sense? So I tell people I can stand on the corner and hand out $20 bills all day long. I mean, so anyone can price a house too cheap and it's going to sell. What you want to do is price it at a point low enough that it attracts
attention
and buyers.
Okay.
An example. So we have a house this week that we did a price reduction on, significant. we
What's significant mean? So go through.
well for
What's
that
the
for
price
that
point?
property, it was significant. So for that
point?
property, it was significant. So it was a $25,000 price reduction on a $450,000 price point.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay.
So we drop it $25,000. That's a big bite.
So now you're at 425.
Now we're at 425.
Okay.
That's a big bite. So you drop it to 425. Now we've bridged into another price
Kind of
category.
tier. Yeah.
Yeah, another tier price. So we've got a whole different group of buyers that are seeing that house. For the group of buyers that we're in, instead of being now the middle or highest priced in that tier, we're now the lowest because we price at the bridge, which is a strategy that we've actually changed to. Instead of putting it on at 424.9, we put it at 425. So we want to price at the bridge. So
what do you mean at the bridge? I don't know what that means.
At that search criteria. So if people are searching from 425 to 450, we'll show up in their search. If they're searching from 400 to 425, we're going to show up in that search. So we're priced at the bridge. We're in both price tiers.
And the bridge is 25,000. Is that how it
depends on the
typically
price
is, or-
point of the
okay.
property. $1 million property, maybe that bridge is 50,000. It could even be 100.
Okay.
If you're looking at $2 million or $1.5 million properties, your bridge is probably in $100,000 increments.
Wow.
So another strategy that we talked about was, well, maybe we'll do what the banks did a few years ago, and they would just drop it every week, a small amount,
Yep.
and just keep like that price pressure, downward pressure on the property, just boom, 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 and then people started squirming in their chair if they were looking at that, wondering if they should jump at it because is it going to go down? Is it going to get snapped up? The seller option, this was their option. I just laid it out. Both strategies worked. We've used both of them. They opted to drop it, take the bite, and drop it to 25. And the fact of the matter is, if it doesn't sell at that, it costs you nothing, right? Didn't cost you anything. It just was numbers on a computer screen. So we dropped it, and boom, we get multiple offers on the property.
Okay.
So now,
So you have multiple offers now at 425.
at 425,
Okay.
we have multiple offers, and we wound up getting I can't say because it hasn't closed yet, but significantly more than we were asking, and not too far away from where we were before we did the price drop.
Interesting.
So they wouldn't buy it at 450 when it was 450, and just come in and offer less, but they'd buy it at 425, and then in multiple offers run the price up to
Almost back.
almost back to where it
Do
was.
you find that people then, you get a pool of folks that are actually looking for homes, that price point was almost too high at a point, and then you bring it down lower, and all of a sudden they jump into that pool?
Yep.
Now you've got them hooked a little bit further?
Well, now they're invested in the property.
Right.
They've seen it, where maybe before it never even showed up.
Right.
And they maybe were qualified to that point. Well, they obviously were. They were qualified to that point, but they just weren't searching to that point.
Right.
So they found the property that didn't show up in their search before.
Yeah.
So for them, it was like a new thing that came in front of them, and it worked for them. And there was a couple of the offers that were, they were like really close, and it came down to who had the better financing. It's actually is what it was, because the price was essentially the same.
Talk about that real quick because we have a couple minutes. When you're looking at multiple offers, while it's not as relevant, it's probably still relevant. What are you looking at? What are you kicking to
In
the
this
curb? What are you
this
holding?
particular situation, I knew both loan officers.
Okay.
And I knew the financing programs that they were offering, and one of them just had more money down, bigger percentage down, conventional mortgage, and I knew the mortgage company was good, the loan officer was well seasoned, and the agent was well seasoned. It was just start looking at other things. Other than this agent is, because I check the agents, I look at them, and this agent you pull up and it's like, 2 transactions with Joe Schmo out of the trunk mortgage company. No, thank you. There's just no confidence there that the deal is going to get done. And then you look at this other person that's, they've done a lot of business. They've been in the industry for a long time. The mortgage company is well secured. Name brand in the marketplace. I know the lender. It's just like, yeah, this is
Makes sense.
I know this is going to get done.
Yeah.
So then you've got that confidence when you're choosing between a couple different offers on the table. So it's a pretty interesting market. It's kind of back to a very, very traditional market, where buyers are. Here's the other interesting point, Kelvin. Every one of the offers, 4 offers, every one of them were asking for closing costs. Every single one. And when I visited with them as the why of that, every single one was buying the rate down.
Yep.
Every single
sure.
one.
Do you find that it's still a seller's market?
Not so much. I mean, at some price points, it's very much a seller's market. In some communities, it's still, but it's real spotty. And in other areas, it's pretty darn balanced.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And if you have here's the other thing. If you have a good property, well prepared, well staged, ready for market, it's a seller's market. If you throw a unprepared property on the market and overprice it, you're going to find out that it's a buyer's market for you.
Hmm.
You know, it might be a seller's market for the guy across the street who did the work, but for the one who, thought that they could just throw anything on there, then it becomes a buyer's market real quick. This is your Real Estate Chalk Talk. 612-627-8000 is the phone number to call. 612-627-8000. HittnerGroup.com is the website to go to. We talked last segment about how you can make a buyer's market a seller's market and a seller's market a buyer's market, and it really comes down to preparing the house for sale. Proper pricing, of course, is essential in this marketplace, because we got to be really dialed in on the pricing and look at what's going on in your real local specific area and house style. But the best way to get the most money for the house is to put a little effort into it. And now we've got Mike here from Wow One Day Painting. And introduce your personal assistant that you've got here.
This is my absolute very best second part, the other half of the business.
Okay.
Carla.
Okay.
And she keeps me in check 24/7.
Okay.
And she helps on the back end of the business.
Okay. So if you don't perform well,
she kicks me into the gear.
There's a problem.
Yeah, kicks me into another gear.
I like it. I like it.
Welcome, Carla.
Thank you.
All right, so talk a little bit about that, just about the painting that you do in preparation for. I mean, you've done many projects for us. We just found out this week that you're going to be doing a lovely project out in
Prairie.
Eden Prairie. Yep. So talk a little bit about your business and just get that kind of out of the way. How do people reach you? And,
right.
So
how you got into it, all that. Give us the background.
Yep. Prior corporate life, 20 years. Military life, 20 years. Headcount restructure. Started this business in 2014. It's a spinoff of 800 Got Junk. Mm-hmm. Bought the first franchise in Minnesota. 8+ years now. Franchise of the year 2 years ago. Franchise of the year this last year. Candidate, and we are in the top 5 franchisees of all North America.
What qualifies you for that? What's that mean?
What's that mean?
What does Wow One Day meaning?
No,
that you're top 5.
Oh, top 5 and top 5 in production, revenue, the A+ reviews, everything else included in that. We're rated in the top 5.
Means that you're pretty good at what you're doing.
Fortunately, we're pretty good at what we do.
I love that.
Yeah. What Wow One Day Painting model is basically we'll come in. I'm not a fan of folks just walking in and saying, yep, it's going to be X, X, and X. I want to measure things out, give you an accurate number, give you a production number on man hours. We'll put man hours against the labor hours I calculate, and we'll figure out how much time we need to get a project done. Probably about 60 to 70% of the time we can get projects done within a day, depending on the work involved. If you're doing trim, doors, things like that, then we have to talk. It may take a couple extra days for doing that. But overall, the business model is a one-day business model. Competition, when I first started, it was kind of interesting, is I had a sales rep from a paint company apologize to me a few years back, and I'm like, why are you apologizing? He's like, well, because I didn't think your business model fit. I didn't think it was possible that you'd come in and produce and do jobs in a day. Now competition is trying to play catch up. Mm-hmm. So we're pretty proud of what we're trying to do. We're leading the way on that. And we're changing the habit.
Here's what I've, just from talking to clients and customers, I talked to someone recently, and they said that is the bid that you get for a painting, he said, is that the real bid? I said, well,
yeah.
What do you mean, is that the real bid? Well, he said, well, it includes everything. I said, well, what are you talking about? Of course. He said, well, because he got in a previous home with a painter, he said they gave him a price. He said then by the time it was done, it was 3 times more than what he originally quoted. So he said, is this a firm quote? I said, well, yeah, it's a quote. That's how much. They measured everything. Does it include the paint? Well, Yeah, because the other one didn't include the paint.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
That's awesome.
so it's like it sounded really cheap, and then it was like, oh, you needed paint. Yeah, well, that's extra.
Wow.
You know, depending on them, it was
That's
like, well,
awesome.
it depends
Right.
on what kind of paint you want.
Right.
You know, and all that. So,
So you include paint.
So
you
our
include the
bids
paint.
That's
our bids
correct.
include the paint
That's awesome.
unless the customer says they've got whatever. But our bids include the paint. Well, that's the reason we do the production calculations, things like that, because I check my GP. We have to make money. We're not the least expensive. We're not the most expensive.
Right.
We're usually right around the middle, okay? But our bids include everything, top to bottom. It does not change unless you change the bid itself in terms of
Right.
adding or deleting areas, okay? The other key feature to us as well is we do not ask for money up front. We ask for pay when the job is complete. So we'll do a walkthrough with you as a customer, make sure if there's anything missed, we'll take care of that, do any touch-ups, then you pay. So there's some reassurance in the idea that you're
That's
hiring.
nice,
You're
actually.
hiring
Yep.
someone that's respectable. We have Better Business Bureau, A rating, all those things, that you can feel comfortable having us into your home. We're going to get the job done when we say we're going to get it done. Then we're going to collect afterward.
and you have confidence enough in your work
Yeah.
that you can do that. Because the people who do not have confidence in the work, they always want, well, I need a third up front to quote unquote buy supplies, and I need, so they're getting most of their money up front, because if turns out to be a crappy job, at least they got out.
So,
Right.
yeah, and the thing is, it's kind of interesting because I went into a home the other day and the lady's daughter was around the corner, and she didn't do it on purpose, but she's like, comes around and says, I like you already because of the way you introduce yourself to my mom and doing all those things. I said, that's just me. That's how my sales staff is as well. It's like, we respect walking in the door, okay? We're not just going to come in with an ego and look at things saying this is what it is. So we try to build a relationship and rapport because our number one goal is to get a review posted, but also build future referrals and business down the road.
So I see your signs all over the place. So is that? I mean, it's just like every time I come in my own neighborhood, I come around the corner, it's like, oh, Mike's in the neighborhood. Signs all over. I'm driving down the street looking for the house that the main sign is in front of. What kind of a strategy from a franchisee standpoint? What kind of support does the company give you in terms of growing and making your business successful?
This was a topic that was brought up this week through some other franchisees. Is there's 3 channels for driving leads. There's online booking engine, where you may just find us on and call us. Otherwise, there's calling in the sales center, doing that. Otherwise, there's franchise operated produce leads, which means myself and my sales staff going out doing network groups, chambers, things like that. We produce probably 50% of all leads by us doing the ground game.
Okay.
With the lawn signs, the chamber events, those things. So
Is that normal? Is that
no? We're one of the
high, low?
highest. We're one of the highest because
Really?
yeah. I mean, I chose to do that in the beginning because I've always felt like I need to be in the business, not out of it. In other words, involved. I'm not going to paint. I don't do that, but I'm involved in terms of driving the volume, the sales, the leads, things like that, and how we're going to do it. And we look at other options. Each year we build out a plan. We come up with these standards that we continue to use, but we look outside that as well with a certain budget, and we decide, let's try this, see if it sticks, and see what the return on that is for generating leads. So, but we're about 50% for generating our own leads.
So do you, when you go to like a chamber or do you belong to like networking groups?
Yeah, one's called BNI.
Okay.
Then we're members of 5 Chamber of Commerce. We're a member of Better Business Bureau. We do a couple things with them now and then. We do Angie's List. That's big for us.
So what does your day look like then? I mean, it sounds like you're out there marketing, running a business as opposed to
doing
paint,
the business?
paint and trim.
Well, Carla helps out. She's the better half,
Okay.
but she knows I'm gone most of the day, and I probably put on 150 miles a day driving. And what I'll do is I'll drop in on jobs we're doing, make sure everyone's happy doing things they need to do, the client is happy doing all those things. But at the same time, I'm doing my own sales calls with estimates. I'm just doing anything and everything, ground game. I'm staying out there and being visible.
How many jobs do you have going on at any particular time? And how big a crews do
Yeah.
you have? Do you have like 1 crew, 2 crews, 3 crews?
Annually, we're at about 500 jobs a year. So if you take away the weekends, that's, you're talking about 300 days. So you're about a job and a half a day on average. We have anywhere from 20 to 30 painters working in the summer. Wintertime is about, I'd say 10 to 15.
Okay.
Yeah. But we keep them fully loaded. They're working through the entire winter as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Do you find that the crews that work outside are different mindset, mentality, and skill level than the ones that work inside?
For exterior versus interior?
Yeah.
While in the past, while One Day Painting, they had given us direction of trying to hire crews for those specifics. I didn't care for that. I want the idea of cross-training, so we have crews that do both, interior and exterior, because when the time comes and we're in the off-season, they can move right into interior work.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're trained for both.
Okay, super duper. We got to go out to break right now. This is your Real Estate Chalk Talk. Hittnergroup.com, Hittner Group.com, Hittnergroup.com, all one word, 612-627-8000. That's 612-627-8000. And we'll be right back after these messages. RackShackToGo.com. Get the best food of your life. Stop by on Friday nights and Saturday nights. Rib tip special. Buy 1 pound and get 1 pound free while supplies last. And they run out every Friday night and every Saturday night. So come in early. Buy 1 pound, get 1 pound free. It's an ongoing special. And it is a super duper.
Are you going to be there?
I'm always there on Friday nights and Saturday
Okay,
nights.
so that's a bigger special than the other.
That
right?
is. They get to meet the famous Keith Hittner
Right.
Sr.
They should pay double.
Should pay twice as much.
Yeah.
We should
Cover
just
charge.
mark it up. Mark
just
it up
mark it
because I'm there.
Yeah,
All right.
I agree.
612-627-8000 is the number to call. We're here with Wow One Day Painting, Mike and Carla. We've been talking about painting in general and his business and stuff like that. One thing I just wanted to bring up because it's a program that we're becoming very involved in, and that is our program where I'm a certified probate real estate specialist. So we do a lot of work with probate cases, with helping the families get rid of their real estate after somebody has passed away. Either it goes through probate, or if it's with a trust, and we can just sell it directly a little quicker. But the problem with a lot of that stuff that people have to overcome is many times there are family members who are spread across the country, and here we got grandma's house in XYZ community, and nobody's here. So they need to have somebody that kind of get in the center of all that and manage that process. And many times those homes need to be, if you want to get the most for the estate, they need to be touched up, fixed up, and all that stuff. And so we come in there and we manage the process. And part of that is, of course, painting, because that's going to be your best return that you can have on updating a property. Carpet and paint is always the first to go, and then we'll go in and maybe put countertops in.
Is there a factor you use on that, Keith, that when you're looking at, like you said, painting's the biggest increase?
Right.
Is it so you pay $5,000 to have something painted? Does it increase the value by $10,000, or is that not even a consideration?
I don't think that's a factor. What
Okay.
it is we know that we'll recover the painting costs.
Okay.
We know that we'll get more depending on how bad it was in the first place. So I
Okay.
mean, if it wasn't that bad in the first place, and you put good paint on top of good paint, it probably isn't going to get you anywhere.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious if there's
You know
a
what I'm saying?
factor you
Yeah.
used or anything.
But you'll almost, if we say you need painting, trust me, you need painting.
Okay.
So there is going to be a return there. The other thing it is that we're trying to eliminate the eliminators on a property.
That's
So
good
when people
language.
come in to look at a house, they've looked at 10 other houses. They can't make an affirmative decision. They can't say, oh, I want this house number 9. But they're very good at saying, I don't want house number 1 because, and then they'll list all the reasons. It's got wallpaper, it's got old carpet, it needs painting, and all. I have to do all that stuff.
Yeah.
So they'll eliminate that property because of that factor. So we want to eliminate those things. So we call it eliminate the eliminators, and painting is one of the things that people always point
Yep.
to. Carpet is another one. Countertops, dated kitchens, then you go into bathrooms. In that order, the return gets less. So painting is the best, carpet is next, countertops is next. Then other things in the kitchen, you got to start thinking about that. Appliances, bathrooms, updates, and all that stuff depends. Small little things will work. But the point is that we do it, and we don't. We front all the work. The program that we're in fronts all the resources. All the invoices go to a title company. It's paid out at closing, so we're not going back to family members across the country. Maybe the estate doesn't have any money, but they've got an asset they got to get rid of. So, it just kind of sits there. So Mike's part of that program, and it works with divorce. Is another case where it works well, where you've maybe got warring parties, if you will, that are split up. Or same thing, they've got this asset, this house that they lived in, and now they're splitting up. They're starting 2 new households because of the fracture in the family unit and the split, and they're kind of guarded about their resources of how they're going to do it, but they know they've got a lot of equity in that house, and so they're willing to go along with that because they want to get the most out of it. Angie's is the one that manages that program for Coldwell Banker nationally, and you've been involved with them right now, and you know Angie's because you're an Angie certified, award-winning.
We've been a contractor contact through Angie's for 8 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how does that work with the whole Angie thing that comes through to you? I mean, is it the same people, or what's your?
Are you talking about the program you're on now?
Well, the program that we're on now, and just your general affiliations or work that you've done when you've got someone that called from Angie's and for a referral.
Well, so first of all, it's interesting because there's other markets for Wow One Day Painting that Angie's List just doesn't seem to work for them. They have other avenues for generating leads.
Okay.
In this market, Angie's List is huge, or they call themselves Angie's now, I think.
Yeah, just Angie's.
Angie's, and but it's a big pusher for us, and we generate leads through them. And it's anything from them seeing lawn signs, trucks, things like that they'll contact Angie's List and go through the process, and then we get in touch with them, create the estimate, go out through the bid, and do that process from there. The program that you're in, that's something new for me that I'm just learning more of, and I'm joining and getting that completed this week, which I'm excited about doing because, of course, we're partners, you and I, and then I can help you with whatever you might need with painting.
When you have, so you've won awards through Angie.
Super Service Award 3 years straight.
What's that mean?
I don't know. I'm still trying to figure that out. Super service. Super service.
Yeah.
Super service. Well,
I mean, how do you?
I think it means because we have I believe it's like a 4.9 rating right now.
Okay.
It's positive reviews. If you get negative reviews, you're not going to get that award.
Okay.
And we represent Angie's on behalf of what we do. So because of what we do and we perform at the level we say we're going to do it, we get that Super Service Award.
So Angie's is very guarded about who they have on their list, if you will. And if you're someone who is not getting a certain level of positive reviews, you're gonna get removed.
Right.
So, how did you ever get on the? I mean, do you have to apply for it, or how do you get on that list?
How did I get on it? I'm trying to remember. I don't know.
I just think when we started, you applied and then you proved yourself. So
it was just a marketing decision on what we decided we wanted to do. I mean, it's not cheap.
Yeah.
You pay a dime for this, but the return on it is huge. The reputation you build with it is huge. So we decided to keep that as a staple item for us year in, year out. That is part of our planning, our budget planning each and every single year, to be a participant with Angie's.
Let's get back to painting versus marketing.
So when you want to get, I have another question that just kind of comes back to that.
I've got painting questions.
Okay, well, I want to know about the crew.
Okay.
Let's
talk about
so, it's well known, labor shortages and all of that. So you've got this business that you run, but you have to have people.
Subcontractors and employees. I have a full staff of employees, and we backfill the workload with subcontractors as we need them. But our mainstay is employee-based.
Okay.
Yeah.
And those are the guys that carry through in the winter?
Yes, 100%.
And do the inside work?
And they're trained from top to bottom. We continue training. We're working on training sessions with Hirschfields at this point, coming in and showing us their products, the product lines, the variances, as well as using equipment that we can use in the field.
Talk about paint a little bit, but the different brands, because there's lots of different brands of paint out there. Is some better than the others that you found to work with and durability?
Yeah, everyone's got their preference, but predominantly we use Hirschfields and Sherwin-Williams. Okay?
Hirschfields and Sherwin-Williams.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, and we have.
They're about equal.
For me, they are.
Okay.
For Jay, our ops manager, he may use Sherwin over Hirschfields, and Lee might use Hirschfields over Sherwin.
Okay.
Just a preference, but overall, they both have really great product that we use.
And the same color palettes and availability, and
they're both available. They're both able to scan color matches through Behr and other brands as well.
Have you had trouble getting people and getting product?
It's both, The good part for our business, though, is keeping the people. I've asked subcontractors, why do you stick with us? Mm-hmm. And the answer from one was, you give us good jobs, you pay us on time, and you treat us with respect, okay? And that to me sticks out. And with the employees, I've had 3 that have been with me for 5+ years, 6 years. So, we do everything we possibly can for retention, but it's a matter of respect as well. I want to make sure I'm giving them development ideas and opportunities through the business, and we continue that process as well.
I got a couple questions, Keith, I want to hit on. Talk about wallpaper real quick. Can I paint over wallpaper?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that easier to do than ripping it all off?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah. It just depends on who put the wallpaper up, if it was sized professionally or not. If it wasn't, it's going to come off in postage stamps. And we make that decision as we get into it. I discuss this with the homeowner. I have a price point, what I charge, and we make a decision at the point if it's going to come off really bad. We're going to just oil prime it and then paint it.
Okay. That's interesting on that.
He's
Okay.
discussing that with me right now
Is he?
over one of our bathrooms.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Fun.
So you do wallpaper removal?
We do.
Okay.
We don't install. I choose not to go down that lane, but we will take it down.
Okay.
Give your contact information one more time.
While One Day Painting is, you can call them by 888-969-1329.
Wow, One Day Painting. Call them. You get the best painting job of your life. Call us 612-627-8000. If you have a problem with contacting them, we'll get you connected right away. Hittnergroup.com, Hittner Group, all one word.com. We got to go out and pay some bills right now. We'll be back after these messages with the money section.
But we're going to wrap.
Money in the bank.
Rates are good. Pretty exciting. You know why?
Why?
Free money. You understand what I'm saying?
Hey, welcome back to the program. This is your Real Estate Chalk Talk, coming to you from the legendary Rack Shack Barbecue Studio. RackShackToGo.com. That's where you order up the best barbecue you ever had in your whole life. Go to HittnerGroup.com. We got online the best houses that you'll ever see in your whole life, and there's lots of them now. We got, about twice as many as we did at the beginning of the year, and more than we had last year, and more than we had the year before that at this time of the year. So a great selection of homes on the market right now. Interest rates are up just a tad, but they're, something.
It's free money.
It's
still free
relative.
money. Should we just say
it's not quite free money?
Not quite free money anymore.
But there's strategies that you can do, and as I mentioned in the first segment of the show, we got multiple offers on a property this week, and every single offer that came in, we're asking for seller paid something, and they were all buying the rate down.
Yep. Yeah, there's. Well, let's start with what's going on in the market.
Okay.
We'll probably start there. This past week again, and I'm just reading as we're sitting here, just because this morning, it's Friday morning, more numbers came out. The Fed's favorite measure of inflation, personal consumption expenditures, was released. The report showed that the headline inflation rose 0.3 in August, which was 0.2 more than expected year over year, fell from 6.4 to 6.2, and that was the PCE rating. Personal consumption expenditure.
Okay.
Is what that is. So we had good and bad on it. Rates continue to kind of move up. We just can't quite catch a break. On rates this week again, we see multiple. It's not just like, I wonder what rates are today. I wonder what rates are this hour to next hour to next hour.
Are they going up and down like a ping pong ball bouncing?
Not
or
up and down.
Just up.
They're going up.
Okay.
Yep.
And what's driving that?
Inflation. I mean, the reality of inflation, and then with the Fed.
Well, how would inflation drive rates?
Well, it's all based on the bond market, tied to the stock market. With inflation, they're trying just to tamp everything down because they don't want inflation to go up. Fed funds rate goes way up. Actually, overseas helped us this week. On one day, it leveled out a little bit because I forget some country lowered theirs because they see that things are going up too fast. So there's now Russia, Putin talking. He talks today, I believe. It's Friday. He's speaking at something about. And we're almost rooting for him in this,
At this point,
which sounds awful, but
Right.
like, okay, maybe he's a little crazy. That will
bring things down
a little bit. So, one of the headlines we're talking, it says crazy volatility continues as rates head back up, right? So, we we just can't seem to lock into an area, right? So we were at the end of last week, we were pushing six, mid sixes, high sixes. This week they opened up the next tranche of rates, so now we're into the sevens. So now we're seeing rates there that are 7, 7.25, 7 1/8, 6.99.
Do you think that we would get into the 8s, 9s?
No, God, I didn't think we'd get to 7 though either.
Yeah,
I'm just like I'm amazed, right? We've been around. You've been around a long time. I've been around for quite a while, right? 20 years, and rates are now higher than every year I've been in the business, other than 5, I believe it is now. So,
I saw one property advertised this week.
Mhm.
As I'm searching for a client, and the thing that they were advertising in the listing was it had a 2 point, whatever it was, assumable mortgage. Now, I haven't heard people talking about an
the
assumable
assumable
mortgage for a very long time. And
so it's FHA or VA,
mhm.
right? So the previous owner has an FHA or VA, so they just, as long as they can qualify, they can assume that loan.
Right.
Wow, what a benefit!
What a benefit. So I don't know what the thing of it is that if you have a say, I'm going to pick numbers. So you say you've got a $400,000 house with a $300,000 assumable mortgage. Okay, so I got a $100,000 spread there.
Mm-hmm.
So I either have to come in with $100,000 in cash,
right,
to make that up, or what is my option?
Or what would be getting an equity line to tag on the top of it, right?
With that property I'm purchasing.
Yep.
So essentially a second
So
on that.
yeah,
property.
so I keep the first because I've got that assumable, and then if I need more, you just put on a HELOC on top of it,
And you could do that all at the point of the purchase.
Yeah. Sweet deal.
It's a very sweet deal,
deal.
and it seems like we're going to start seeing more of those when we're back in the 80s, when the interest rates were at 15, 16, 17%. We saw all kinds of that wraps, CD wraps, where you had a primary mortgage at a low interest rate,
right,
and then the seller would do a wrap around it with a contract for deed, which you can't really do.
They
now.
can't really do that
Can't
anymore.
do that now, but we were doing all kinds of stuff back then just to make the thing happen.
Yeah. I think what we'll see right now, and one of the things, so just share one thing that's kind of funny, and now I'll get into that, but it just says, we get so much data all the time, right? It's just a fire extinguisher of data. But this was from this morning. It says the following information is deemed reliable only through, today's date. After that, rates could be as much as 1/4 to 1/2 point higher or lower. We're just not sure. So it's just mentioning that volatility that's in it. What we're doing some buy down stuff where we're taking those seller paid closing costs and saying, let's use it to lower your rate. So we're going to start, instead of at 6.5, we're going to start at 4.5, go to 5.5, and then we'll end up at 6.5, knowing full well. And we had a meeting on that this week. What's going to happen, just so everybody knows, we're going to get to March of next year, and they're going to go, inflation is steady. Inflation steady. Why? Because it's year over year. What's happened is, because inflation was so low under the Trump administration, and then the Biden administration comes in and it's so high, and I'm not really politically
just facts.
It is. So it just goes way up, right? So now they go, oh my gosh, there's an 8%, it went from virtually flat to 8%. Well, a year from 8% it's still at 8%, but they're going to advertise and sell the fact that inflation isn't moving.
Right.
And we're in better shape, and we had a handle on it.
It's still 8%.
It's still 8%, right? And we're talking about that with our people, at Loan Depot, and they're just like, this is what's going to happen. So you're going to see rates start to come down Q2 of next year, because inflation is held now to 0.
It's steady.
It's steady.
The increase is 0.
Yeah. So it's just on you and I know it's all on the language and your
Right.
positioning, but we'll see rates come back down. So when we're doing these buy downs, basically we're saying, hey, let's start at 4.25, and hopefully we'll lock you into that same rate in the next 6 to 12 months,
What about an assumable conventional mortgage? Is there such a thing?
Nope.
It's just not an option either.
Right.
Okay.
Correct. So that's so there's just a lot of things going on, but the funny thing is, we're wrapping up September. We did 13 million just out of our branch again, out of our region. We're doing 30 million. So we're still doing okay, but it's heavy purchase, just a handful of refinances, and the refinances are have tos. Everything right now, I think, in our market is a have to. It's a have to market, right? I have to move, I have to refinance. I've got all this short-term debt. The thing that we're seeing, which is funny, is we see all this credit card debt. Well, people carrying credit card debt, this is huge for them. I mean, their rates are going through the roof, right? So now they're saying, okay, if I can consolidate everything back to 7%,
Right, from 30
all day.
Yeah.
I'm like, this makes no sense.
Right.
And then they'll do it again. Now, the good thing is we have a lifetime guarantee, which means that no lender fees when you refinance with us. So it is a little softer to say, hey, come back, because there's costs. So anybody saying there's no cost, it's a lie. There's
Let me
costs,
ask you
right?
this then. In terms of that, we talked about like recasting loans and all that stuff. What happens when the mortgage gets sold off to somebody else? Does that ability then to recast a mortgage live on, or is that?
We have a mutual client that was going to recast. They end up selling the mortgage, even though we marked it to be held in our portfolio. But so I called where it was going to be serviced because there's a market for that right now, and everybody honors that, so that's good. And the other thing, why there's such a cost to rates right now, because there are some rates that you just cannot get just a par, which means there's no cost to it. And the reason for that is these lenders know that this is going to get refinanced off within 6 months to a year. So there's no money. These companies that are doing this need about 6 to 8 years to make their money, right? Well, when you know that they're going to refinance that off, you've lost money. So now there's just a premium on that rate, and they're like,
I see.
We're going to make this regardless.
We got to make it now because we're not going
to make it long term because no one's going to hold the 7% mortgage when rates are back to 4.
Right.
All they're doing is setting me up for a nice run here.
Right.
So, which God bless them.
Yeah.
So we're in good shape. I think the conversations we have, I always say conversations are important, but man, now more than ever, right? We need to have a conversation about what we're doing strategically, like the couple that we're talking about. Another one I'm doing right now, we're really restructuring a lot of debt, just in the whole process of them buying and selling. And it's a fun conversation. That's what makes our side of the table fun, is when we get a restructured debt, we help people make smarter decisions regarding their money and their mortgage, and that's the joy of the business, right? So you can always reach me at 651-231-2500. Again, that number is 651-231-2500. Love to hear from you this weekend. The Vikings play at 8:30 a.m. So make sure.
Yeah, because they're in London or something.
They're in London,
Okay.
so you can just call me right after the big show.
There you go. 612-627-8000 is the number that you can call if you want to reach the Keiths. 612-627-8000. We'd be happy to have that conversation with you. And that first conversation, of course, is all with no cost and absolutely no obligations. If you're just curious about the market or want some information, please give us a call, and we will be back with your Real Estate Chalk Talk next week.